Welcome to today's video. Today, we will take a look at how to calibrate the printer, the software I use, and we'll do our first test print. So let's get started. We have here a popular and affordable printer called Creality Ender 3. It's a printer made in China, and it's highly rated. Yes, there are much better printers on the market, like the ones from Prusa, which are considered some of the best. But today, we will focus on the Creality Ender 3. If you need a guide on assembling the printer, it's included in the package on the SD card, or you can find many interesting tutorials online. Once we have it assembled, the next step is calibration, which means adjusting the print head's position so that we set the correct distance between the print head and the bed. Incorrect calibration of the first layer can lead to various issues. If the nozzle is too far from the printing surface, your print may not stick properly, resulting in a blob. On the other hand, if the nozzle is too close, you may encounter extrusion problems, clogging, low print quality, or even damage the print bed. For the simplest calibration, we'll use a regular piece of paper, for example, from the printer. Turn on the printer. On the 3D printer, press the button to go to Prepare and select Auto Home to set the printer to its default position. Turn off the printer. Now, take the paper and insert it between the nozzle and the bed. Use the large nuts to adjust left or right, depending on what's needed. The goal is to have the paper move with slight resistance, but not too tight. Adjust until you feel a slight drag. Repeat the process on the opposite side and then check the other two corners. Be careful not to touch the bed. If you lean on it with your hand, you might bend it and disrupt the calibration process. Repeat the whole process until you are satisfied with the results. Also, do a final check in the center of the bed. Another option to adjust the height is to use the printer's motor to move the bed. Adjusting the height precisely may not be easy, and it might take some time to understand how to do it. However, it's best to perform the calibration when the printer is cold. To use this option, go to the menu, press the button to go to Prepare and select Auto Home to set the printer to its default position. Select Prepare, then Move Axis, and choose either Move X or Move Y. Choose 10 mm to move the print head above the screws. Test the nozzle height in this way. Next, we'll exchange the filament or, if you're starting, load the filament. Turn on the printer. Press Prepare. Preheat PLA. And then preheat PLA again. Wait until the print head is heated. I have PLA filament loaded in the printer, and I'll replace it with a different type. If you don't have any filament in the printer, the process remains the same for you. Since I'll be changing to PTG filament, which requires a higher temperature for melting, I'll use the profile for ABS. Make sure to check the parameters of your filament to know what temperatures to use. Trim the end of the filament with pliers to create a sharp tip for better insertion into the filament feeder. Next, go back to the menu, press Prepare, then Move Axis, and choose Move Z. There are several options available based on how fast you want the print head to move. I'll select 10 mm, meaning the print head will move 10 mm with one turn of the potentiometer. Move the print head higher to create enough space between the nozzle and the bed. Now, we'll feed the filament through until it changes to the desired color. If you're inserting the filament for the first time, wait until it forms a proper snake-like shape. Now, we're all set and ready for the first print. Since we won't be printing immediately, cool down the printer. I recommend doing this step whenever you want to turn off the printer while it's still hot. Now we can safely turn off the printer. If you're still unsure about the calibration, there's another option. The third option is to download the G-code. You can find the link to download it in the video description and use it for easier calibration. This option is easier, as the G-code already contains programmed positions for the print head, and you simply press continue, and the print head will move where you need it to be. Finally, we'll perform a test of the first layer. If the layer doesn't adhere properly, we'll adjust the desired screw. The first layer doesn't fit quite well, but after the adjustment, it's better now. We use our finger to test if the layer adheres. If not, we adjust the bed height to improve layer adhesion. For completeness, we can try another option for testing the surface to see if the calibration is correct. It's up to you which options you find the easiest, but it's not necessary to perform all the mentioned procedures. If you still can't calibrate the printer and it happens to you, like me, that the nozzle is too close to the center and far away on the edges, the heated pad may be to blame. Try to measure it to see if it is really straight. It happens that they can be crooked. And how to fix it? It's better to buy a new one, although that may not be a warranty either. I'm going hard on it. I'm going to try to straighten it so it's perfectly straight. I don't recommend this method. You can't destroy, but what? I'd buy a new one anyway. It probably worked best for me to lay the heating bed on a cutting board and bend it where needed. Yes, I admit, it's not the best solution, but it works. I managed to level the board. Before that I had almost a millimeter of clearance. Now it's almost perfect. So we'll see how long it lasts. Just to be safe, I enlarged the screw holes to give them more clearance in case the board expands when it heats up. Lastly, we'll talk about software. For the Creality Ender 3 printer, there's a program called Creality Slicer. However, I prefer a different program called Prusa Slicer, which I find much better. Go to prusa3d.com, click on Software, and then Prusa Slicer to download and install it. After installation, the program will prompt you with the configuration wizard. Alternatively, you can go to the configuration menu and select Configuration Wizard. This configuration can be changed at any time. As the first option, we have the possibility to remove the user profile. Since we are starting, let's move on. Then, choose your printer, just tick the box, and you can select multiple options. This allows you to switch between printers while using only one program. Since we have a Creality printer, let's proceed. If you don't have this type of printer, continue further. Here we select the Creality option or choose according to your printer model. Next, choose the exact printer model you have. I have the Creality Ender 3 with a 0.4mm nozzle, so I'll choose this option. We skip this part and proceed. Here, we select the filaments that we want to have available. These are preset parameters to simplify our work. If you're unsure, choose all options. You can change them in the future. Press Alt to select all of them, and they will be displayed in the menu. Press Next. Again, we skip this part, leaving the boxes checked. Next. We skip again, unless you need to change the path for saving downloaded files. Skip again, and leave this as it is. Here, we can choose the mode we want. If you are a beginner, leave it in simple mode. I'll keep it in expert mode, as it offers more options for adjustments. Press finish, and we are all set up. In the upper right corner, we see the option for print settings. We can choose a higher layer height, which gives us the choice between faster, less aesthetically pleasing prints, or slower, more beautiful prints. It all depends on the height of the layer, which you can set here. Below, we can select the filament we want to use. Since we checked all options in the settings, all available filaments are displayed here in the program. In the next window, we choose the 3D printer we want to use. I'm setting it to Creality. The software will adjust the settings for our specific printer. Second to last, we have the infill option. I recommend setting it to a maximum of 30% if you need a solid material and 15% if you only require standard infill. However, it always depends on your needs, so it's good to study this topic further. The last option is supports. You can choose from a selection of supports that are used when you have a shape that the printer wouldn't be able to print on its own. I recommend doing more research on this program. You can find many tutorials on the internet. We have everything set up and explained. Now, we need a model to print. For that, we'll use another application, Fusion 360. It's free and has everything you need for your work. Again, look for tutorials on the internet. For the first print, I modeled a 1 by 1 centimeter cube. And now, we need to save it as an STL file. Click on File, choose 3D Print. Select the model you want to print. In the Output tab, uncheck the button. There's also the option to choose Refinement. It depends on your computer's performance, but it's always better to choose the highest setting. In our case, it doesn't matter much because we don't have a complex shape, but for more intricate shapes, it preserves more detailed features. Click OK, and then select where you want to save the file. Now, we go back to Prusa Slicer. Drag and drop the created file into the window, and there's our little cube. If you click on the cube in the lower left corner, which looks like sheets of paper, you'll get this menu that shows how the printer will print. It's a very useful tool to identify potential issues. We set the infill to 5% to save material and to see how the printer handles the print. Choose the filament you have loaded in the printer. For you, it's probably PLA, while I have PTG. Leave the layer thickness as it is, and click Slice Now. Save it to the SD card, and that's it. Now, let's start the print. The last thing we should do is clean the print bed. You can use isopropyl alcohol or a regular window cleaner for that. Turn on the printer. Go to the settings. Print from the SD card, select the cube, and confirm. The printer will start heating the print head according to the parameters from the cube file. Now, always check the printer, especially the first layer, to make sure the print is going well and the calibration is correct. And there you have it, the printer is printing our first creation. After the print is done, the printer will cool down automatically. And here's our little cube, perfectly matching our parameters. Although there's a bit of elephant foot at the base, it will need some fine-tuning and probably reducing the temperature. This phenomenon is called elephant foot. Other than that, it's perfect. After a long setup process due to the warped bed, I printed this, and I think it's almost perfect. That's all for today. I hope it was informative. Have a great time, and I wish you affordable and successful printing.